The Astros have released the winningest international World Series pitcher in Major League history. Jose Urquidy is no longer an Astro. A lot of moves were made today. Qualifying offer to you-know-who. Let's talk about this and more on tonight's Locked On Astros.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You find me on X at Eric Talks Astros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on X and on Facebook. They can also find me at Back to the Bullpen on X, on YouTube, on iHeartRadio, and Instagram, where, look, I'm always positive, always Stros.
Guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, go and make us your first listen. Become an everyday or somebody that listens to our podcast every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. So, Brett, a lot of people are thinking the Astros might be done, especially if Alex Bregman is no longer Astro. But they made a lot of players be done with the Houston Astros this year. A couple of them not surprising. A couple of them were kind of surprising, especially with the pitching issues they've had the last couple of years. But we've got a lot to talk about. During the offseason, you got some slow days. Today was the first day of the GM meetings in San Antonio. This was nothing. This was definitely not a slow day. And there's also a trade that happened with the Houston Astros with the Yankees. No, it wasn't for Garrett Cole. Let's slow down. But it was for a former top prospect. We'll go and talk about that later on. So Bregman, the deadline passed with the quiet period. So he is now available for all free agents, all teams to pick him up. So the Astros time to negotiate with him only has passed. Nothing happened. So, Brett, where do you see this going from here?
Well, obviously he could accept the qualifying offer, which we both know he won't. I mean, anybody in the right mind, especially Alex Bregman, would not take $21.05 million, which seems insane to us normal common folk, us serfs in society that don't make millions of dollars. But he's not going to settle for that. So he's going after, I believe, 30 plus. I don't think he's going for anything less. He's probably going for length of contract, the longest contract, and he probably wants to be with a contender. Now, the Astros are letting him test the market, and I believe the Astros are going to be aggressive. From what I'm hearing, Eric, from the people I talk to, the Astros are going to present a very aggressive offer to him at some point in free agency. I'm fairly confident that Alex Bregman can stay in Houston and can remain a Houston Astro. I think a couple things are in play. The intangibles of him coaching up and being an absolute genius on the diamond with the pitching staff and other players. Number two, the advocacy, the strong campaigning Jose Altuve had for Alex Bregman, who he has not endorsed another player as much as he's endorsed Alex Bregman. And just where do they go from there? Where do they go from Alex Bregman? I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, just let him go. Oh, just cut the guy. Have you seen what he does in this part of the season? Have you seen what he does here? Well, you know what? There's a guy that the Dodgers paid $700 and something million for, and he didn't perform in the World Series. The Dodgers didn't win the World Series because of Ohtani. And the Yankees sure didn't get a whole lot of help from Aaron Judge. So say what you will about paying big players and paying money. Alex Bregman has at least contributed in the postseason. And I think that right there on his resume alone is worth looking at. Again, once you get in the weeds of paying him the money, it's tough. And you've got to think about where this would put them financially if they're going to go over a certain tax threshold, If they do, they're going to have all kinds of damage that happens. But now that there's 30 teams involved, your chances just went way down. You now have a 1 in 30 shot versus a 1 in 1 shot.
Yes, like you said earlier, the Astros offered him the $21.05 million for 2025. He will definitely turn that down. He has till November 19th to accept or reject it. He would decline that offer, but this is basically procedural. This is something that all teams do with a team that with a player that has never been offered a qualifying offer before, and they have been with the team for the whole season. Kikuchi, he was not with the team for the whole season. That's why you didn't see it happen there. Verlander was with the team for the whole season, but he already got a qualifying offer before. So that's why you couldn't have that there. But this is so the Astros can get a draft pick in case that that Bregman signs elsewhere. And don't think, oh, well, we're get a first round pick or anything like that. You're talking about a 4th round pick. So this is something that is tied with him. So it's a compensation pick sometime after the 4th round or something like that. So it's not even a top 3 or top 2 or anything. It's going to be just another depth piece. But this is just something that that teams do to ensure that they get something for losing one of their top players. And so this will not hurt the Astros' chances of re-signing Alex Bregman, but other teams will have to take that in consideration when they're trying to sign Alex Bregman, because they'll have to be like, wait, we have to give up a draft pick for this. Let's go ahead and think about this a little bit. Is it worth it?
Now, thinking about qualifying offers, and I want to bring this up, and you and I talked about this before the show. Michael Schwabe's actually been on our show before, and if anybody's on X or social media, you know who he is. Got quite a big following. I believe he has some connections with the club. I mean, he has sources, but he tweeted this out today, and he made a good point. So I couldn't deny it. I couldn't take credit for it. But this is what Schwab said. Let's just say the Astros will not be signing a free agent who received a qualifying offer this year, excluding Alex Bregman. And the 13 players, if you're listening, he has Soto, Burns, Bregman, Adames, Fried, Alonso, Santander, Martinez, Teoscar Hernandez, Christian Walker, Nick Pivetta, Shamanai, and Luis Severino. If the Astros sign any of these 13 players who received a qualifying offer, since Houston went over the competitive balance tax threshold, they would lose their 2nd and 5th picks and of the 2025 draft, forfeit $1 million of international bonus pool money. And he says, so yeah, none of these players on this list outside of Bregman will come here. So Eric, does this mean that my hopes of getting Pete Alonso as our first baseman is out the window?
Yes, I would think so. If with that consideration, the Astros are already going over the luxury tax threshold in 2024, so they're already going to be losing some draft picks, some international pool money. So they're already talking about that. But so if you're talking about what are the other 13 players that are on this list, you already mentioned Pete Alonso, Willie Adames, you got Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Teoscar Hernandez, Sean Manaea, Nick Martinez, of all people, but Nick Pivetta, Anthony Santander, Luis Severino, Juan Soto, some guy, I think he's 22 still, and then Christian Walker. Christian Walker is the one that I was hoping for. And so
yes,
if that's the biggest name on this list. So you know what that screams to me? Goldie.
Eric, he's not. They're not.
I'm telling you, he's coming.
No, they're not. Goldschmidt is not coming after what happened with Jose Abreu, aging first baseman, a horrible season. We got no, Eric. I'm gonna call BS. I just
know how the Astros think, and I think that
dude, think about it. They're not. They're also not going to sign Carlos Santana.
If Bregman leaves, they're going to say, we got to sign somebody to replace him. So they're going to go out and get a first
Wheelbite, one of our loyals, says this. Okay. And this is what he says. Tell me what you think. He says, I think you guys should do a deep dive into Zach DeCenzo's career, offensively and defensively. I don't think it's a bad idea to give him a chance at full-time third base unless he was let go today.
No, he made the cut today. So
Yeah, he did.
DeZenzo is
He
still
did.
around. Yeah,
But
so guys, we'll go ahead and continue this conversation. Guys, thank you for making Locked On Podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen on the Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go ahead and check us out.
guys, you ever feel you need a little boost in the bedroom? Well, it's time for you to stop worrying about your performance and get him so you can feel confident knowing that you can be ready and stay ready whenever you're in the mood. It's changing healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. That's right. You don't have to go to a doctor and all this stuff. Well, you get doctor trusted ED medication. The process is 100% online, so there's no need to go to some uncomfortable doctor visit. Just answer a series of questions and a medical provider will determine the right treatment for you. No insurance is needed, and there is one low price that covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, start your free visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon and get your personalized ED treatment options today. hims.com/lockedon.
It's okay to continue. Guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. My fiance is listening to us as we talk right now and try and become part of the show. If you want to become part of the show, go ahead and become an everydayer and go and subscribe to us. Hit that little red button down there and go ahead and check us out every day. Go ahead and download the free channels app and go and make us part of your daily routine. So, Brett, how are you doing?
Yeah. Man, I'm doing good. I'm just wanting to make sure that you go to hims.com/lockedon. Locked on MLB. I mean, there's some good stuff there for you, man. But hey, I digress. Really, I go downhill really quick from here. But Eric, the Astros did make a flurry of moves today. Oh, I see how it is. They made a lot of moves today. Oliver Ortega, Jose Urquidy were outrighted today. Trey Cabbage, Seth Martinez, Penn Murphy, who is your favorite player who never really did anything. They were sent to waivers and they kept Bennett Sousa. They kept LMJ, JP France, Luis Garcia, and obviously Christian Javier. And an interesting move that you mentioned, Eric, they picked up a player, a former first-round draft pick who at one point had some real promise. Taylor Trammell was acquired from the Yankees in exchange for cash considerations. Interesting that we do anything with the Yankees. But, you know, this is one of those signings where he fills out the 40-man roster. He gets a chance in big league spring training camp, and you see what he can do. He's a center fielder, and it makes you wonder, Eric, what is the future of both Myers and McCormick if they're signing guys like this to look at as well?
So this is Trey Cabbage part 2. That's what's going on here. This is another former top prospect. This is somebody that it's a low risk, high reward type of thing. This is a guy that's never really panned out in the big league level. Yes, he's had 15 career home runs, but if you look at his batting average, he's batting like 170 for his career. So he's never really panned out. Yes, he started with the Reds in 2016. Then he was traded to the Padres during the 2019 season, to the Mariners in 2020. He debuted it with the Mariners in 2021. He played 116 games that season across 3 seasons. And then he batted 168 with 639 OPS with 15 home runs. So he's not the answer, but like the Astros did last year with Trey Cabbage, he may not be the answer, but what if he is? What if they catch lightning in a bottle? And who knows if he's even here? We saw Trey Cabbage change hands a lot last year, so that might be the situation here. You gave up cash. You gave up spending money. So I think he's a former top prospect. He's somebody that a lot of people are really high on. And so I think this is not a bad deal. He strikes out a lot. Like you said, he plays center field. So this could be a backup to the backup to backup to the regional manager.
Oh, Eric's like, didn't even have him on the roster. Melton in center field. And hey, Slappy Payne. Look, I've got to share his comment with the name like that. Eric said we would sign Jason Hayward, and you said we wasn't. Well, you know what? You were right. I was wrong. And then Slappy Payne has got your back, dude, right here. So here comes Goldschmidt. And I was like, nope, I doubt it. So I'm still going to go with what I think is going to happen. Eric, this is what I think we do need to do. And you mentioned it. You're finally on board with it. The trading Framber Valdez to get some stuff in return. I think we have a few holes that we need to fill. It's very possible that this team doesn't look anything like it may not look like it looked last year. And we could possibly, if the Astros don't make significant moves, if the Astros don't really sign anybody, if they don't bring back Bregman, that this could be going into the season one of the teams that has the lowest projected finish of any team in 8 years. And so Houston fans have got to be ready for the Astros to not retool. At the same time, in 7 to 8 years, Crane has not been in this situation. So we haven't seen him and how he reacted after coming out of a really long playoff run, a very dominant stretch. So things might be a little different. And I know there's some penalties, which keeps you, but if we have to wait till 2026 to revamp everything and 2025 is kind of a slim year, I'm okay with that. I would rather see the next 4 to 5 years be great than the next 1 year and then have a complete drop off after that.
Yes. So the 40-man roster now sits at 38 players after the flurry moves today. So they outrighted Oliver Ortega and Jose Urquidy. Both of them cleared waivers, are now free agents. I saw somebody say that the Diamondbacks picked up Urquidy. I have not seen anything.
Yeah, I haven't
seen
it. I just looked it up. I have not seen that.
I think they're thinking of another player. So Trey Cabbage was claimed on waivers by the Pirates. Seth Martinez was claimed on waivers by the Diamondbacks. Maybe that's who they're talking about. And poor Penn Murphy once was supposed to be a great starter with the Houston Astros, is now delegated to pitch for the Chicago White Sox, and all the glory that is being a White Sox pitcher.
Yeah, well, White Sox, they are legendary teams, legendary players. If we get another White Sox player, if he does what that guy did, like, honestly, I don't want Robert Jr. I know there's a lot of people who do. I don't want former White Sox players. Let's just say no. Let's just pass. I'd rather go with Taylor Trammell at this point. But the Astros have some tricky things. When Dana Brown said that we have to get creative, like when I started looking at the numbers and all the dissections of the different things that have to happen or could happen, or if the Astros sign, the ramifications, it just doesn't look like the Astros are going to do a whole lot. But you know what they could do, Eric?
What?
They could, and I would love for them to do this, they could bring back the Cooch. That's right. Keep Cooch in H-Town. Let's keep Cooch in H-Town, man. Look, Lisa Loeb even endorses this, man. That's right. Keep the Cooch in H-Town. Let's do it.
How'd you slip that by me? You knew to tell me you're going to do that.
I knew you were totally distracted, so I threw it in there because I am covert like that. I am like not a Russian asset. I am like a top secret asset, and I have powers that I haven't even unleashed. Because especially this next year, if we're going to have a creative year and have to get creative on the podcast, watch out. Brett no, I didn't. No, I just don't. Stop. Don't do that to me. I'm suing you.
That's exactly what you just said.
It's double
That's
jeopardy.
Exactly what you just said.
It
People
looks
in the
so
chat,
much worse.
Tell me exactly. Is that what he just said?
So much worse in writing. Okay. My point was, I don't trust former White Sox players. I'm not saying that Luis Robert Jr. is I'm sorry, I didn't say Trammell was better, but I'm saying at this point with our history, yeah, he got me. Panda, look at that. Panda, he got me. But hey, you know what? Hashtag keep the cooch. I'm all about that life. So, I mean, someone said I'll be fine with more Lisa Loeb, right? Exactly. I mean, look, Mama Wheelhouse is laughing at me. Dude, you got my own mom laughing at me on the show, you jerk. Let's get to the next part.
Guys, we're going to continue this conversation next. Thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
Are you ready for some football and a Monday night party? That's right. I remember that song. I know you do. FanDuel is helping you tackle the action this year. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book because right now new customers can bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets. That's right, $150. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need all in one place to place live bets. You don't have to go all over the internet to find what you're looking for. In the middle of a game, if you get a hunch, you can view play-by-play action, so much more on the same page you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Monday night party.
Hey, Astros fans, do you want to have a hitter with a career batting average of 168 with 15 home runs, or somebody that hit 15 home runs last year? If you want somebody that hit 15 home runs last year, go get Luis Robert Jr. Even though it was a down season, you can go ahead and think, wow, Taylor Trammell, this is the answer. I can't think with that in front of my face.
Keep the cooch.
Anyway, so let's go on, move on to the GM meetings. GM meetings, there's not a lot of moves. We did see what happened. We don't really see a lot of moves. You're going to see a lot of small trades, but mostly at the winter meetings is where you see all the agents, all the players kind of go up and take. I believe that one is, where's that? It's not the same place. Now Milo wants to join the show and make fun of you too for that bad take. But definitely a situation where this is the ground. Dana Brown and the rest of the GMs are setting the groundwork for any moves that are going to happen in the future, whether it's and they're probably meeting with the agents right now. And I think according to what I'm reading, the Astros are going to make, or you said that, make an aggressive move for Alex Bregman. But will he pick them? Who knows? But the Astros need to have a plan B. And it sounds like they're not going to sign anybody that has a qualifying offer attached because they don't want to take another hit to the farm system. They don't want to pay the luxury tax or whatever it'll take to get that done. So they're going to have to be creative. And that's what we've heard Dana Brown say. We're going to have to be creative. Does that mean you already saw them trade a beloved player, or not trade, but let go of Jose Urquidy? We think of him as a guy that helped the Astros in that World Series. We think about him as a valuable asset, but he was going to miss half the season anyway. So you might as well bring in somebody. Penn Murphy. I thought he was the answer, but they decided to let him go to the freaking White Sox.
No, right here, and I'm glad you mentioned pitching because Panda talks about an important person. I think someone who could be important next year, and that's Ryan Gusto. And if you're talking about getting creative, you've had, Eric, a whole slew of players, pitchers, Ronel Blanco, JP France, all these guys come up and make immediate impacts. Spencer Arrighetti. You've got Colton Gordon still in the wings waiting to, chomping at the bit. We'll see what kind of damage he can do in spring training if he, pretty sure he'll get an invite to big league camp. But Ryan Gusto, I think, is going to be someone who is going to contribute this next year. And with letting Urquidy go, now there's an outside chance they could turn around and offer him something. But if he's going to be out half the season, you don't need any more pitchers to be out half the season.
Yeah.
It would make more sense to make him an offer if he was going to be able to play the full season, like let him go and then maybe offer him something that's not that big of a deal, 5 or 6 million for the next, like 10, 12 million for the next 2 or 3 years. You could do something like that. But, someone goes Ryan Mountcastle trade. That's what I want to see. Look, I would love to get Ryan Mountcastle, but I just don't know who you're going to trade for him. You're going to have to give up a pretty big piece to get a Ryan Mountcastle because of who he is. And it is just one of those things where there are so many things they could be doing. But like you said, they're laying the foundation. They have to get creative. I still think there is a clear path that you can get both Bregman and Kikuchi back in Houston. If you get those two, the only other way I think you get players is if you make a trade, and you've got to trade someone who has value. They're going to have McCormick and Myers here as long as they have a need in center field. And until someone like Melton comes up and takes a spot, they're going to be here. They don't have much value on the trade market. So I hate to use this term with them because they're great guys, and this isn't to slight them and their legacy or what they've done to help the Astros, but they're just not attractive pieces on the trade market. They just don't have a ton of value. Fans may love them. You got the Chaz Chomp and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about winning championships. I think Jim Crane wants to get back in the mix. I don't think he wants to sit back for a year. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of these GM meetings too, as well, this weekend that are in San Antonio.
I know somebody in the comments earlier mentioned that the Astros got down 38 players so they can have an open spot for Alex Bregman. That's not typically how they work. They want to get to a certain number of players so that way if a free agent comes around, that they're like, hey, this is a guy that we can go ahead and go out and get. But don't forget that prior to the winter meetings, they also got to add some of these Rule 5 draft players. So that's another issue.
I believe they're at 40 players though, from what I
they're
saw earlier. I'm sorry.
They're at 38.
Okay, well, I could have sworn one of the reporters
said at 38, Brett.
Okay, I'm not arguing. I was just finishing my statement. I thought that I had seen someone say that.
Chandler Rome said it, then corrected himself. Yeah, that's probably
who did that?
Chandler Rome.
Okay,
he said 40 and then corrected himself.
Okay, that's where I saw it. Thank you. And I hadn't seen the correction. So yeah, you're right. Well, there you go. You got a couple spots open, but does that leave you 2 spots to fill if you trade a name like Framber Valdez? And you get more than one person that you could put on the 40-man roster. You see what I'm saying?
It's also salary dump too.
True. That's true. And so at the end of the day, we've got to look at who are going to fill these holes. Victor Caratini, I think, would be an admirable first baseman. You could bring up Salazar as the backup catcher, put Caratini at first base. He's a switch hitting first baseman. I thought he did a good job. Why not do that? If you're not going to go out on the market and sign a Christian Walker or a Pete Alonso or someone with a glove that's going to hit a lot, a Naylor or someone like that, then you make Caratini your first baseman. Why not? I mean, I don't think you lose much with putting him at first, and then you do have him as an auxiliary third man emergency catcher, and then you can, throw somebody else over there at first base. So that to me makes a lot of sense.
And you also want to see what happens with DeZenzo, what happens with Whitcomb, because they can also be part of the discussion. And also, can Bryce Matthews play third base? So there's a lot of things that the Astros need to look at. Bryce Matthews is playing in the Arizona Fall League. I'm not sure if it's still going on. I think it still is. But how is he doing at third base? Is he playing that? Can he build up his arm strength? That was a concern that I read. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about all offseason. And by the way, guys, the dreams of Garrett Cole coming back to Houston, which I never thought was going to happen, but the dreams of him leaving New York, apparently that was squashed. Apparently both sides were trying to bluff each other. Oh, well, I want more money. Oh, well, I don't know what the Yankees were trying to do, but both sides were trying to bluff each other. But by the time the deadline came and passed, Garrett Cole is still a Yankee, and for the same deal that he opted out of. So
Right.
they agreed to stay. So I didn't think that in the long run it was going to be an issue where they couldn't agree, but it was just kind of weird that he opted out. And was it just to try to get that fifth year? I think that's what he was trying to do. Smart, extra $36 million, because who knows what happens in 5 years, especially if you're Garrett Cole.
Exactly. So, hey, this has been a great show. Some great input from our listeners as always. Almost 200 people tonight. I mean, look, they're coming back. Guys, I love this. Thank y'all for showing up. Thank y'all for putting up with our shenanigans tonight. But stay locked into Locked On Astros. If something breaks, we'll let you know. We will talk about it. And Eric will not let it go. It's okay. I deserve it because I started you as the president of the Robel Garcia fan club. I still want to get your Robel Garcia jersey. I haven't found one yet, but when I find one, it's going to be yours. It has
save your money, guys. Thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast, and we will see you tomorrow. And go Astros.
No, Bregman will not do a 4-year deal for $150. Sorry, Panda. 6 years minimum.